Hello, welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB, coming at you with a little reacty Andy video because out of nowhere, an RKO style play, we have a banned and restricted announcement just dropping in here on the 13th of October. Just a typical Wednesday until something gets banned. And I know you guys love bans and you want to hear about it. And I just heard about this from my mods in my Discord. I haven't read it. I haven't looked at it yet. So we're going to get the full reveal here on this show today. So drink up the Mountain Dew. Editor, edit that out. Those of you who have been around for a while know that's a meme. All right. Here we go. The October 13th banned and restricted announcement. Expectations. Allrun's Epiphany has been like the talk. It's been the talk of the Magic universe since Worlds, during Worlds, before Worlds, after Worlds. Let's see if it survives the ban here. So, standard, no changes. Wait, what? Hold on, I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you guys. Get the ads out of the frame. No changes in standard. Zero, none? Actual none. I mean, okay, that's a way to do it. We've been carefully monitoring the standard metagame since the format rotation and release of Innistrad Midnight Hunt. As Innistrad Midnight Hunt standard season winds down and we approach the release of Crimson Vow, we've been aware of players' concerns about the impact of certain cards on metagame diversity, such as Epiphany and Chariot. After reviewing the metagame data and recent online events, including the World Championship, no kidding, and in considering the upcoming release of Crimson Vow, we decided not to make any changes. Yay! We'll consider changes to standard if necessary after evaluating Crimson Vow's impact on the metagame. They think Crimson Vow is going to fix this. Crimson Vow had better have like a very easy to cast and splash Necromentia type effect, or some of the best graveyard hate like Leyline of the Void or something that makes the flashback side of Galvanic Iteration suck, or just something that somehow ruins target Epiphany and isn't blue, because I think that's all what it would take to give players what they want and what they expect. I also think that, quite honestly, I think the player base smells blood to some extent. They think that they can get a card like Nexus banned because they got Nexus banned, because they basically have for a while now been able to crow that something's unfun and get it banned. To be clear, I don't care if it gets banned or not. Allrun's Epiphany and standard, that is. I think it's totally targetable, and I'm perfectly fine with battling it. Is it annoying? Yeah. If I had to choose whether to ban it or not, I will always say ban because the content gets better. And if it were up to me, I'd ban something every week, but that wouldn't be financially viable or particularly fun for a large portion of the player base. So I don't actually want that in seriousness, but if like it had no downside, I would ban something like every week just to keep formats fresh, because I love it. I love rotation, which is basically, rotation is the banning of like a few hundred cards. So yeah, stuff like that. I just want more chaos in the world. Speaking of chaos, Tybalt's Trickery is banned in Historic. Boys, we got him. Thank God. Oh, get this card out of my life forever. This is something that just on pure annoyance level made me not play Historic anymore. Like, it's not even that it's good. It was that it was annoying. Maybe they'll have some discussion of why, maybe not. Let's find out. Memory Lapse is suspended in Historic. That's a big one for you guys. I'm sure that's exciting. It's probably one of the most annoying counter spells that could exist in any environment. So getting it out of there, I am fine with that. I think choosing your counterspells is entertaining and fun when there's a choice to be made. When your counterspells are for counterspell, literal counterspell, because it's the best one, that's not very exciting. And the opponent knows every time they see Island, they have to play through that. That's where Memory Lapse got to. If every time you saw an Island, you knew you were playing through 4 Memory Lapse, and it wasn't going to be any fun at all. Memory Lapse is lame because it takes away your draw step, which is the most exciting part of your turn. And now you just know what you're drawing, and it makes everything worse, quite honestly, than being countered. So get rid of it. When it showed up, I had a feeling it would be too much, and now just get rid of it. Brainstorm is banned from from Suspended. You don't say. You really thought you were going to print Delver of Secrets in Innistrad, put the Dragon's Rage Channeler in the last Historic Horizons, and you thought you might unsuspend Brainstorm someday? Ha! Banned. Out of there. Historic, you needed this. Like, Historic has to feel like playing Magic again at some point, and there's still some more work they have to do there, but let's see what else is on this list. 5 digital-only cards are being rebalanced. Wait, what? Rebalanced? That's not a ban. That's not a suspension. We're just going to change them? Have we found nerfs and buffs? Is Legends of Runeterra Hearthstone technology sneaking in here? Davriel's Withering and Davriel's Soulsbroker third ability now only to affect target creature an opponent controls. That's a cool play. That gets around the Vesperlark problem. That breaks up the perpetual combos. Was that so hard? Nicely done. Faceless Agent is now a 2/2 from a 2/1, so that card got buffed. I think they thought that would see more play. Sarkhan, Wanderer to Shiv's second ability is a +1 instead of a 0. Sweet. That card also needed a buff. You know what's funny? We can hover these and see what they do. We can't do that with these cards. Did they not program? They're not in the Gatherer. That's why. This uses Gatherer, doesn't it? Gatherer is, for those who don't know, a website that congregates all the Magic cards owned by Wizards. They didn't put these in Gatherer. I can't be the only person who finds this funny. Somebody, like, help me out in comments. Don't let me feel alone. I feel like a lot of people are watching it like it doesn't matter. That matters to me, okay? If they don't put in Gatherer, it's not a real Magic card. Don't at me. Subversive Acolyte now costs 1B from Black BB, is a 2/3 from a 2/2, and had toughness increases from becoming human or Phyrexian reduced by 1. Again, I would love to hover this and see now exactly how it reads. Was this the zombie and like you draw cards when things dies? Are they buffing zombies? Because that's a pretty smooth move. All of this kind of buffs tribal. Faceless Agent buffs tribal. I think this was a zombie, and I think that this, you know, get the dragons doing something cool and historic. That would be an achievement besides Degenerate Combo. So, effective date, the 14th, tomorrow. So, yeah, tomorrow is your last chance. If you want to craft trickeries, you should get wild cards back for them. So I'll get this video up right away. In theory, it doesn't say that for sure. Maybe it will say down here somewhere. But yeah, kind of do that at your own risk. I've definitely been burned a few times by crafting things, and then I didn't get wild cards because it was suspended. But in theory, something getting perma-banned is you get wild cards back. Read the whole fine print. Anyway, Jumpstart Historic Horizons created a large amount of change in the metagame, and most of it looks very positive. Really? But after watching initial reception, Historic Arena Open, and the response to the broader metagame to the Arena Open, there are a couple adjustments we feel Historic format needs. In addition to normal bans and suspensions, the digital-only cards in Jumpstart give us a chance to return to a balance tool we haven't used in Magic for many years, functional rebalancing for cards. We haven't used in Magic for many years. When did they ever do it? Bans and suspensions. On the broader historic metagame front, one of the big changes is the return of decks built around trickery now using Throes of Chaos. Yeah, like, why did you... This is one of the dumbest cards to ever reprint as well, because it's just a stupid card. It's just keyword soup. Like, I heard a great podcast called The Resleevables. Patrick Sullivan, a game designer, called it like, I think he called it like game developer masturbation, something close to that. That basically you're really just playing with yourself as a developer at this point. Anyway, you bet you didn't think you'd hear that on this show. To boost the hit rate of the combo dramatically, this has led to a marked increase in win rate for the deck relative to the prior version, increase in popularity. The prior, less consistent version of the deck was borderline, and the increased hit rate in this version pushed it over the line. Whatever that line is. Whatever it is. Who knows? Because we think it's unlikely for Historic to be as safe to include a combo of the speed and consistency. Tybalt's Trickery is banned in Historic. I love that. I love that. In announcements earlier, we talked about the dominance of blue and red decks. Our past changes, along with the additions from Jumpstart Historic Horizons, have done good work in addressing this. But we still have an issue here. Has it? Everywhere I look at Historic, I still see blue-red all over the place. Memory Lapse emerged as a must-include in high-performing decks. Yep. It was the most played non-land card in the Arena Open, as well as the Best of 3 ladder, and is one of the most played cards in Best of 1 as well. While we do believe that removing Memory Lapse from the format is likely to create further improvements in format diversity, we also believe the case is less clear than Tybalt's trickery. As such, we're going to suspend Memory Lapse. Rounding out bans and suspensions, Brainstorm is currently suspended in Historic. Has helped in shifting the metagame in a healthier direction, so it has now been banned. Also, you printed at least 2 cards that, in my opinion, make Brainstorm completely unsuspendable. Like you can't have that in Historic with Delver and Dragon's Rage Channeler when blue is already so powerful and Izzet is already so powerful. So you printed your way out of ever having Brainstorm in that format. Anyway, rebalance cards. Okay, God, we are going to talk a lot about rebalancing these cards. Holy crap. In addition to these bans and suspensions, we've rebalanced 5 cards. I'm going to try to skip and just get to the gist because I did not expect this to be a frickin' book. Going forward, we will be managing formats on Arena in 2 ways. Print formats like Standard will work exactly like they do in Tabletop. So they're never going to rebalance a format like Standard. For live formats, like Historic, live meaning digital? It's kind of a weird way to put it. We are adding live balancing alongside banning and suspension as a tool to address problems and make improvements in the format. We are very aware that there are many Arena players who want the game to be an authentic representation of tabletop Magic, and our print formats will remain exactly that. Here, a card will always work the same way that the printed version of the card does, and balance will be maintained the same way it traditionally has been through banning cards when they prove to be problematic. In addition to being an authentic version of tabletop Magic, Arena is also a digital game. Pog phase? What? Digital games often make use of a wider array of balancing tools. We know. The increased play rates and data collection possible in games magnify the power of imbalances. Yep. Currently, we are restricting these changes to digital-only cards. Where there will be no conflict between digital and printed version. We would like to expand beyond this, like they did with cards like Oko to kind of unban them. There are multiple clarity and communication problems we need to solve before we can consider those changes. This is something we plan to work on in the coming months, and since it bears repeating, will only affect digital formats. What that means is they're trying to find a way to unban Oko and other broken cards in Historic, and doing that by changing how the card fundamentally works. What they mean by communication problems is they somehow need to make it so that it is very, very clear that an Oko in Historic is not the same as an Oko in Pioneer or Legacy or anywhere else. And they're not just worried about communicating that within Arena, they're worried about communicating that outside the Arena as well, to players at local game stores, to players that don't have Arena, to players on MTGO, things like that. One of the big themes of Magic over the last several years has been recognizing and embracing the many ways Magic is played. On the tabletop side, we have released new content focused on Modern, Commander, Collectors, other groups. On Arena, we recognize we have tabletop Magic fans and fans of digital games. With this shift, we aim to fully support both. It's weird because this, in a lot of ways, completely separates Historic and some aspects of Arena. It's almost like being a Historic gamer is something else entirely from being a traditional Magic player. I think that's part of why I've just been avoiding the format. I played a few games after, and I made a few videos after the last Jumpstart released, and I was like, this doesn't feel like Magic to me anymore. And I have the same reaction when I play Commander and I play with the Commander-only sets. To me, I didn't realize how important this was. The framework of the set, that as it makes its journey through Standard and then into eternal formats like Pioneer, Modern, and Legacy, the journey of the set is important to me. because I like knowing how cards worked in Standard and seeing how they live out their life in the older formats. I like having the experience from their time in Standard to draw upon. And when you print things like Modern Horizons and Commander Legends, I don't feel the connection to those cards because I am so into Standard. I love Standard, always have, since the moment it was announced as a format, as a thing that exists in this world. It was Type 2, I remember it, and I've always loved Standard. And if something never goes through Standard, I don't feel like it's a real card. And that's just because the experience of making it through kind of that time in Standard, the way that it just shaped formats and things like that, I value that so much. So when they talk about printing cards, these digital only cards, as soon as I played them in Historic and as soon as I saw them across from me in Historic, I just tuned out. This wasn't the Magic I like. And a lot of it is because I don't have attachment to these cards. I will always hate Embercleave. And it may kill me in Historic or wherever it goes from here. But on the other hand, I'll always love Yorion. And it's because of the time we had in Standard, working on that format together. So for me, this stuff, like, it really keeps me in Standard and it turns me off to the Historic format. Anyway, since these digital only cards are only on Arena, we can cleanly update all existing cards at once. With the update on the 14th, the text and stats on these cards will change to match their new values, exactly as if they had been an Oracle update. That's the comprehensive, like, rules of the game. Yeah, like with how the cards appear errated. Errata, that must be what they were talking about above. When they used to errata a card, so they would slightly change something about the card, even though it was printed a different way. I believe the last errata I remember is Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, and they errated it to only target your own, like you may target lands instead of you have to target lands, because there was a stupid thing with Teferi where if your opponent had untapped lands, you would untap them if you didn't have any of your own tapped lands or something like that. It was weird. Anyway, much like with bans and suspensions, when we rebalance cards, we want to provide you context around why we're making those changes. Read more info here from Donald Smith. I've had dinner with Donald Smith. Cool guy. Anyway, he probably doesn't remember me at all. I'm Donald from Play Design. I made a few appearances on the site talking about Challenger decks, the genesis of Luminous Broodmoss design, and how powerful Wily Goblin was in my deck at the 2017 World Championships. Oh yeah, this is me, lovable dude. Anyway, like digital-only designs, live balancing is a new tool to maximize the potential of our formats. The first set of changes is not meant to significantly impact the metagame, but improve the latter experience. This will also give us a chance to collect feedback and data on how the environment reacts to these changes. While we still ban and suspend cards, we'll also look for opportunities to improve the competitive metagame and address other issues through live balancing. The 3 buffs are aimed at popular cards that have room to be stronger and better serve the decks and roles they were designed for. Okay? So yeah, the Withering, the new Withering, the Broker, the new Broker. Yes, you can now only target creatures and opponent controls to prevent loops with Vesperlark. Nice. And again, had a feeling that this would get banned. They found a good solution to it that I didn't expect. I didn't expect full nerfs to come to Historic this quickly and in this way, but it does solve the Vesperlark situation, and Vesperlark didn't have to be banned. So yay. Faceless Agent gets another point of toughness. Why? Important card for tribal decks. This is simple buff to improve the experience using the decks. So it doesn't die to Goblin Chain Whirler, I'm guessing? Okay. Sarkin, the 0, which says Conjure Siobhan Dragon, is now a +1. Nice. The second ability is weaker than the other 2, especially considering the tension between choosing to conjure dragons versus the ability to fuel future -2s. We are aiming at better balance to reduce the tension. I think that this having 2 pluses and a minus makes sense because it's a very thematic planeswalker. It doesn't have an ultimate. And I think +1 draw Shivan Dragon is a very cool thing in Standard, but in Historic is probably too slow most of the time. So I think it's totally fine to be a +1. Submersive Acolyte. This is black for a human. 2, pay 2 life. Choose one only once. It becomes a cleric. It gains +1/+2 in lifelink. Becomes a Phyrexian. It gains +3/+3. It gains trample. Okay, I have never even seen this card get played. I don't even know if I ever read this card before. Anyway, they had it as a 2/2. No surprise it didn't see play. They're changing the mana cost so it can go in some different types of decks and giving it a little buff as a 2/3. For sure, Gifted Aetherborn fans were like, I'll take the Gifted Aetherborn, please. The thing is low and pointless. So now it has some plus side there, and they say it competes directly with the Aetherborn for defensive options, changing its mana cost, adds a defensive option for black decks without needing to commit to play Gifted Aetherborn. Big, not a big mystery that changing the mana cost gets it into more decks, so that's cool. And the toughness lets it fill a defensive role in the early game. All right, so there you go. Those are the buffs. We got a little tiny explanation of why, and here it is, guys. The digital only cards on any given day, any given random Wednesday in October, the next day your cards could work differently. You may have crafted them for reasons, and tomorrow they could act differently. Also, no mention of getting wild cards with bans in this article, so I hope we get them. We should get them. It makes sense that we get them, but they did not mention it at all, unless I skipped over it in, trying to get through this a little faster. So interesting. But I hope that they still get bans. Maybe they'll answer that question on Twitter. Check Twitter. If you know for sure, not, I think, Mr. Streamer, that they still will give you wild cards. If you know for sure, if you checked Twitter and a Wizards of the Coast employee responded to you that there will be wild cards, go ahead and leave a comment. Let everybody know, hey, I checked Twitter. It's verified. We get wild cards. Or, hey, I checked Twitter. Can confirm no wild cards. If you are sure, leave me a comment. Otherwise, keep your comments confined to, we should definitely get them. Your opinion, make it clear what's your opinion, make it clear what's a fact, because people do read the comments, and I don't want people getting the wrong idea. People do craft things based on the idea that they might get wild cards back, because why not? To build a collection or to play them in Historic Brawl or something like that. So that's the announcement. Alrund's Epiphany and Asika's Chariot remain in standard. Some people are going to hate that. Tybalt's Trickery is banned. Hallelujah. Memory Lapse is suspended. Good call. Brainstorm is banned. Duh. And then rebalancing cards. It might be good for the people who love playing Historic, what I would call Historic gamers. But it doesn't feel like Magic. It feels creepy crawly under my skin. How does it make you feel? Thank you for watching this video. As always, I'll see you in the next video. You're cool.